is, of course, what would a DCSS session be without some lovely polybridge going on in the background. Hop into this, and today we're going to be starting ourselves out with On the Road. Perfect. Make sure all that info got changed over properly here, and without further ado, welcome back to not our usual Sunday experience for DCSS, but instead, on this Wednesday, let's jump in with a Gnoll here and see if we can't get started off. I can see that I even had a bit of fun practicing with Ned here, but I think for today, we'll obviously be starting a new character, won't continue off with that one. And we'll jump in with Gnoll here. Still says first playthrough, interesting. And Babs, you'd like to suggest no, the Gnoll for the name before you heard out after Gnoll Fielding? Sounds good. I will change the spelling a little bit there. Perfect, we'll see. Because, I guess to start it off here, we will pick our species, or our background, sorry. I like to play my Gnolls as Wanderers, really play into the pure randomness of the situation and have some fun with it. So who knows what kind of starting equipment, certain skills we'll have. It's all part of the mystery, and we'll definitely take Bab's suggestion here, and we'll jump in with Gnoll, spelt the way that any standard Gnoll would spell it. Gnoll, the Gnoll. Perfect. Thank you so much for that one, Babs. That's perfect. And here we go, jumping right into things. Might as well pick up any magical stabs. I will pick up any throwing weapons as well here to get it going. And perfect. That should be just about good to go. Let's send off that dump. Open up that file here, save over our siege. And, oh, wrong scene. Thank you so much. There we go. Oh no, you didn't get to see me go through all the menus. Whoops. My bad there. It's always rough when the scenes are so similar that out of the corner of my eye here on OBS, I wasn't able to at all ascertain that issue, but thank you so much for letting me know. Thanks for fixing it. No, that would have been a bit of a nightmare to get through most of a run and realize after the fact that that was a concern. Whoops. But let's see here. So with our Wanderer start, we started out with some skill in bows, a little bit of skill in throwing, which is nice. Armor skill always works out for me, as well as evocations. Solid. Love that. As well as fighting and unarmed combat. So unarmed combat we probably won't rely on for a while here without claws to kind of give us an initial advantage. But we will be trying to switch out of this club pretty soon here, because the club is not the best starting weapon, to say the least. And let's see how Gnoll starts off their journey in the dungeon here. Hopefully without too many hiccups along the beginning here. Though you never know what the Crawl RNG gods have in mind. Right, rich people have euphemisms for everything? I don't know. I feel like we all have euphemisms for most things. I don't know which circles you roll in, but oops. I did just realize that I should actually run over here and pick up a lovely short sword. That would be a nice replacement for our club here. Then also get our first spellbook. Nothing too interesting for me, especially since most of those will take a while here to become castable. Just one of the kind of subtle advantages that we get to take advantage of. Subtle advantages that we get to eke out as a Gnoll. That's a better way of phrasing that in order to get past my usual hatred for repeating too many of the same word in one sentence, is the fact though that multi-schooling for spells becomes a lot more straightforward. don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Instead, the level will be the main thing to look at as to our efficacy in learning spells. And other than that, we can kind of just fly by the seat of our pants, not have to worry about our skilling whatsoever. Nice thing to take off our plate in terms of what will take up our mental focus. But first, attribute increase. We unfortunately haven't found too much yet that makes me really swing into one camp or another. But I do usually hold a bit of a proclivity myself for spell casting. So I think we'll start right off the bat here, dumping our stats into intelligence. Make sure that we have good spell casting aptitudes and abilities by the time we get later in the game here. So for now, I'm more than happy to stick to a bit more of a standard sword and board beginning. See how that works out for us. Again, not only as a Gnoll are we able to take advantage of anything that the dungeon throws at us and use whatever tools we happen to find, we also are not at all punished for switching up our strategy that we're going for regardless of what we find. So we can lean into the stronger beginning of a lot of melee classes, less so in 0.27 with a lot of the damage changes, of course. But still having AC, I guess, is the main feature of it that I'm going to be employing and taking advantage of. And later on, we can switch over. Interesting. I was hoping to get out of here, but pain does cause some issues. Oh, if you want to blink out, that works for me, Jessica. In fact, I was hoping you'd continue to blink out, or at least be a bit further away. Oh gosh. Well, poor Gnoll. Didn't get very far here, despite our big words, as an early Jessica takes us out. Such shame, too bad. I should have maybe checked the damage on pain here, but what a pain that is. Yes, indeed, Will. Tarkin is fitting, of all things, for pain to take us out. But, oh no, I'll remember you fondly. R.I.P., buddy. R.I.P. Well, that was indeed a quick and painful way to go out, I think. But a nice reminder to the mindset we must be in for this game that we love and know so well, and maybe fitting just based on the fact that you guys didn't get to see my menu navigation before we hopped into things today. So now from the beginning, once more with feeling, shall we? Jump in with Gnoll. I will keep going Wanderer. It's probably a good idea to maybe lean into something that we would find more fitting to make us or get our way through certain parts of the dungeon, but I can't help it. When I play as a Gnoll, I gotta be a little bit silly with it and get randomized right off the start here. And I think for this second Gnoll, I will have to dip into one of my favorite names here. We're gonna name this Gnoll Knife. Spelt the correct way, of course. And let's see where we start off. A whole lot of skill in fighting. Holy crap, 10.3 right off the bat here. That's wild. It's going to mean a lot of health throughout the course of the game. Hopefully we can leverage that into a nice place here. As well as short blades, so that's fitting for the weapon we have to begin. Throwing again, evocations, and armor. Honestly, a pretty sweet start, all things considered. Now let's just try and stay alive and take advantage of that beautiful start, shall we? We'll even remember to use the hotkey this time to just auto-select all of the miscellaneous, and here we go. I have better luck with this little dude? Me too, friend, me too. It's all we can wish for our characters in this game, is that I don't immediately pilot them into a horrifying and brutal end. No promises, though. Here we go. And we're off. Let's definitely switch over right away to the slightly heavier armor, rather. Hopefully, it can be enough to save us this time around. The only unfortunate part about this, or one of the unfortunate parts, I guess I should say, because who knows how many unfortunate aspects there were that we never got the opportunity to see. But for this character here, we unfortunately don't start off with a curing potion, because that was nice to have that identified on our previous run, but alas, it is what it is. And let's also make sure, before I forget here, to replace our game seed. Jump into our properties here, fix that bad boy up. Perfect. Because this is the one that's gonna make the distance, of course, or go the distance, I should say. So we may as well allow that seed to be up on screen so you can all play along at home if you're so inclined. Ooh, and a Mace of Venom I will actually pick up right away. Curious if that's worth using over my short sword in the early short term here. Definitely once we get a few more skills under our belt, but the short sword is a really nice weapon at the start without any real skilling in either department. Attacks a little bit quicker here and has a decent to hit as well. But we'll see what we run into, of course, as well, because if we find something susceptible to poison, it might be a pertinent idea to swap on over. Here we go. D2 is where things may or may not come to a brutal end. It's usually the defining feature of the early stages of the run here. Only time will tell. Here goes. Hello, friend. Let's just lay on some poison. Nice large worm early on is very easy to take out thanks to their slow move speed, of course. And so it continues on. Ooh, do I go for the Fated Altar this time around? I snubbed my nose at it on our first go through. Been regretting it slightly ever since. Ooh, let's take all of you around the corner, please, and thank you. There we go, our first level ups on all of our skills, and just in time, the Orc Priest comes around the corner. Closer than I would have liked in the end there. But hey, got through our first Orc Priest in one piece, so that is something. A Whip of Venom is interesting to start off. It'll have decently fast attack delay right off the start here. Let's see, a +2 to hit versus a +4 or +3. It does fall off pretty quickly, the whip, in terms of overall damage that it's applying, or at least straightforward like physical damage. So maybe we'll stave off on using that for the time being here. And there we go, the rest of our slower aptitudes coming up behind, those being all of our magic ones. I guess I didn't really get into the usual introduction to the Gnoll species here. No, on that note, I also didn't do my own research quite as much as I normally do. I like to usually take a look at the species page on the Crawl Wiki, just to make sure there aren't any subtle mechanics that might be missing. But the large ones are the experience applying equally to all skills. Having very sharp teeth is just a nice auxiliary attack, I believe, that can come in every once in a while to help us out. And the uncanny sense of smell is why we're able to see some items before we actually are within sight range of them. But otherwise, the main features are definitely those skilling and aptitudes, which is the thing that I at least love most about these buddies. Okie dokie, let's retreat a little bit here. Should have maybe been a bit slower just because we didn't want to lose too much health to ranged spells as we just slowly meandered our way out of there, but all turned out in the end here. And perfect, able to take all these buddies on one by one. That is the name of the game, the dungeon here. This is a little bit scarier, unless the priest decides to be the first one in the door. Love to see it. Only a little bit scared? Perfect. Not even a little bit worried is what I meant to say, of course. Let's see. 2 injured to quick throw, but against Kobold we shouldn't have too much problem, too much issue. And onwards and downwards we go. We at least got past D2 this time. That's always nice. I will immediately retreat from the Orc Priest here and let us Can I bring one of you upstairs with me? That's perfect. Then take on the priest, mano y mano, man to man here. And bring our friends upstairs with us. Don't want to deal with an invisible wizard unless we absolutely have to. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 turns? No, not enough? Ah, it was enough. They just walked away, I guess. And there we go. Much more smoothly in the way that worked out in the end here. Bunch of orc packs in the early dungeon, for sure. Not that I'm complaining. That's a lot better than what else we may find, which would include Gnoll packs. As much as I want to rep our own species here, Gnoll packs are absolutely brutal in this game, for the most part, especially early on when they have a bunch of halberds and tridents in hand. But the easier start, or at least the relatively easier start, does make me worried about what the rest of the dungeon has in store for us. There's got to be like a two-headed ogre on D4 or something like that, right? Ooh, very early economical temple. That's fascinating. Let's see where options lie. Ooh, not a huge temple here, so we are slightly limited as to what we can start off here. There we go, Control O. Slowly remembering all the hotkeys too. It's crazy how much even just a couple weeks away can make me lag in that regard. But, taking a look here. Really haven't found too many of the altars, which does mean they'll probably show up in the early dungeon if we really wanted to, hold out for a specific deity here. Do I have a specific god in mind? Perfect timing on that question, Railbird. I did originally, or I guess even just usually, I find myself following Okawaru on Gnolls. You get to take advantage of the skill increases a little bit more than any other character, just because you can always use whatever you want as you go here. But because we haven't run into them, I'm definitely looking forward, or instead looking to maybe try out something new here. And Enon suggests that you like Ash on Gnolls, but you haven't played Ash since they were reworked. And Eggly Bagelface coming in with a secondary opinion of Ash is so fun. So that might make my mind up for me, because I honestly was jumping around between who I would want to follow here, and I haven't had the opportunity to check out new Ash myself either. So the main things to keep in mind with Ash, new Ash that is, are the facts that we can bind stuff to us, much like the usual curse mechanic for Ash used to be. Only in this case, it gives us some bonuses, and then I believe it also gives the item fragile. So if we ever take it off, we will lose the opportunity to use that in the future, which does pose an interesting bit of potential issue, I guess I should say, which is that one of the advantages with Gnolls is usually to be able to switch out between any weapons you find. We won't be able to switch back and forth between weapons, but we will be able to just curse a new weapon every time we find, an upgrade. Oops, apologies. Smack the mic. Ruin the experience for everyone here. But upgrade to whatever weapons we find, so that's not the end of the world either. Also, didn't realize that Ashenzari can prevent us from stumbling into unseen traps. Gasp, agad. That means no more shafts? Wow. But I think I'm more than happy to try it out here. Let's see what we get. Immediate identification on everything. I did not even notice that. Reveals the structured dungeon, shows you where magical portals lie, and prevents us stumbling, and identifies possessions. Wow, that's really cool. Fascinating. Sorry, Spindart. Yeah, I think we'll go with the first suggestion here of Ashenzari. But if things don't shake out, which I'm sorry to say, they definitely will, and we'll definitely win with this one. But just in case, I'll entertain the idea that we'll go for a Nemlex run. Either with our next Gnoll, or more realistically, since again, we're definitely not going to die here. Knife is going to live forever, but maybe on one of our future species then in that case. But also, yeah, hello Spindart, nice to see you around, nice to see you back after our break and our absence the last couple weeks. glad to have you around again. And yeah, with the exception of Genie, you don't think Okawaru pairs well with Genie. That's a fair assessment for sure. But yeah, I very much enjoy Okawaru, not just because my first win with the Gnoll was a Gnoll of Okawaru, actually. And you like Gnolls as caster, if it's an indication. I just like casters, so I'm in the same boat as you in that regard. I was mentioning earlier that I might take advantage of a bit more of a fighter-based build early on here, just to have some extra AC in the beginning of our run, and then switch over to once we start having a nice selection of spells and the skills, of course, required to cast said spells. And you're thinking Ashenzari's identification ability is less impactful since the rework of scrolls? It's definitely fair to say. Now, the main advantage that I find from it is probably just having your health potions identified off the bat. Not to say, though, that that's the be-all end-all of its potential advantages at the very least. And you also eventually get Seen Viz and Clarity, you think, too? Yeah, I believe that that is what we saw here. So both those, pretty nice, don't get me wrong. Very happy with that. And Astral Sight, I don't actually know what that is. But no Invocation, it's interesting enough. Don't really have to worry about the Wrath right now, but there we go. We can see the bound item and the curse bonuses on that screen as well when we get there. Perfect. You can only win with casters, Svindard. Can't play melee, can't play stabbers even more, and can't play ranged without Oka. Yeah, it's definitely tough to keep up a nice supply of ammunition without following Okawaru as a ranged character. Non-possible, and in fact, I do, when possible, like to play with someone like Fedhas, Vidash, so you can constantly put up a bunch of brambles and stuff and keep the distance. Ashenzari invites me to partake of a vision and a curse of companions and cunning. Companions and cunning. So that would be like summoning and dodging? Stealth? Interesting. So I could curse an item. And I don't think taking up the curse... Oh, I should have reread some of the stuff. If I don't take the curse, does it offer me another option sooner? I'm not actually sure. But you know what? It's our first time. Let's just wing it, shall we? So I'm going to immediately curse. I'm thinking Mace of Venom. Because I don't mind if we break that in the future. Here we go. Let's find out. Describe Shatter the Chains. Destroys a chosen cursed equipped item, relieving the wearer of the curse. Interesting.